better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
If you look at Hillary Clinton's background, and if you look at her being an enabler, really, in the 90s, and really attacking these women, it goes against everything that she now tries to spout as a candidate for president. She'll say and do anything. Those are Barack Obama's words, not mine.
Live from an undisclosed location.
What we hear from my opponent is dangerously incoherent.
About health care, we need to make what we've got work really well and improve it and get the costs out of an upward spiral.
It's unclear exactly what he is saying.
Unchained and unstoppable.
For 90 minutes, I watched her very carefully. And I was also holding back. I didn't want to do anything to embarrass her.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
All right, so she's flipped on that issue, right?
No, I think what happened, Wolf, was at the time that she made those comments that you just played, that deal was still being worked on, and she was expressing her hope that the deal would live up to being the gold standard.
It turned out hope in that statement. She said this TPP sets the gold standard in trade agreements to open free, transparent, fair trade.
Who do you love? Howie Carr.
As we welcome the 47th President of the United States of America, let's elect Hillary Clinton to be the 49th President of the United States of America.
RUMP, SWABS, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Woman who's saying that Hillary Clinton will be the 49th president of the United States. That's a state rep in Ohio. Boy, are these Democrat state reps dumb. They're almost as dumb as the congressmen and the senators. We have one here in Massachusetts who said, you know, we need to make sure the Supreme Court continues to have great jurists on it, because without the Supreme Court, women wouldn't have the right to vote. I know. This is how dumb they are. It's just amazing. All right. And by the way, speaking of dumb, Hillary Clinton just finished making a speech. She was with Bernie Sanders in Durham, New Hampshire, at home of the University of New Hampshire. They have a sign behind them that says "Stronger Together." That's obviously her campaign slogan. I don't know what that means, but that's their slogan. And then the other sign, the other slogan that they had today, debt-free college. Think about that, debt-free. So what are they going to do? So you mean debt-free, the people who actually ran up the debt? They're not going to have to pay the debt. Somebody's going to have to pay the tuition, the room and board, the fees. Who's it going to be? Should it be the people who went to college, or the deplorables, the bitter clingers, people like you and me who weren't there, or we went to college, but we paid our own way, so now we have to pay the way for some deadbeats? Wow, that's great. I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm going to get some free college. Can I get some free weed with my free college, by the way? 1-844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show if you'd like to join us here this afternoon, every weekday afternoon. And we're going to talk about the regrets that Barack Obama should have. And if you haven't heard, he gave an interview to Doris Kearns Goodwin, the plagiarist historian. And, she's a hagiographer of liberal presidents. I think he likes her because she tried to rehabilitate Lyndon Baines Johnson, a difficult task indeed. But Obama has tried to do the same. He's the first president or first candidate of the Democrat Party who allowed Lyndon Baines Johnson's picture to be at the Democratic National Convention since Lyndon Baines Johnson was running. Probably it was probably 1964, but so he likes Doris Kearns Goodwin. So he gave her an interview. It appeared in Vanity Fair magazine, and here's the keeper line. there aren't a lot of situations where I look back and I say the decision I actually made or the course we actually pursued was the wrong course. So he never made any mistakes. So we want to help him out. We want to tell him some mistakes that he did make. And many people are calling in and texting in, and you can go to 680 if you want to text in. And the Benghazi attack is right up there. Libya is right up there. Libya intervention. We overthrew a bad guy who was behaving himself for the fact that he didn't want to get killed. But even though he was behaving himself, even though he had paid money to all the victims of the people his minions had killed, Hillary Clinton decided that she needed a signature achievement. So we overthrew Muammar Gaddafi. A bad guy, but now it's worse. Somebody texted in, we overthrew Gaddafi and paved the way for the Muslim Brotherhood. That's better than it really actually turned out. We didn't pave the way for the Muslim Brotherhood. We paved the way for something worse. We paved the way for ISIS.
Yeah, I think they're thinking of Egypt.
Yeah. Egypt. Now, there was a great one. We had an ally. Again, he was an autocrat. But he wasn't. He wasn't bothering Israel. He wasn't bothering the United States of America. He was trying to normalize relations with Israel, as a matter of fact, Mubarak. And so we allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to overthrow him, and we backed up the Muslim Brotherhood. And then when the Egyptian military stepped in and overthrew the Muslim Brotherhood, he cut off military aid to Egypt. What was that all about? So a pro-American coup occurred, and he opposed it. What kind of insanity is that?
And then when the Green Revolution was happening in Iran, he sat on his thumbs.
Yeah, the Green Revolution, this was a group of pro-Western young Iranians wanted to get out from under the thumb of the mullahs. And they were trying to organize an insurrection. And we backed the mullahs. What was that all about? The mullahs. These are our enemies. These are the people who have a demonstration every Friday night in the streets of Tehran. Everybody has to show up and chant death to the great Satan, meaning us, the United States of America. We've been on the wrong side. We were on the wrong side of the attempted coup in Turkey, as a matter of fact. And he thinks he hasn't made any mistake. Maybe from his point of view, he hasn't made any mistakes. Maybe this is the way he wants to operate.
What about appointing 9/11 truther Van Jones to be his green energy czar?
That's really minor. That's, I mean, in retrospect, I mean, there's so many bigger ones than that. I mean, again, we mentioned in the radio, the first hour of the radio show, that Tim Geithner as Treasury Secretary. Treasury Secretary oversees the Internal Revenue Service. Tim Geithner is an admitted tax cheat running the Internal Revenue Service, which, by the way, violated the First Amendment rights to free speech of everybody in the Tea Party when they decided to go after the Tea Party and harass them. That's worse than anything Richard Nixon ever dreamed of doing. And yet Richard Nixon is still you'll pardon the expression, the gold standard for corruption, at least in the low-info history textbooks that our benighted children get in the public schools of America. 1-844-500-4242. Let's take some calls. What should Obama regret, even though he doesn't regret it? Dan, you're next with Howie Carr on the General Communications listener line. Go ahead.
Hey, Howie, you kind of took away my thunder for a moment by saying Benghazi. But along with that, I think it's more of an apology than regret for him standing by Hillary Clinton and letting that story prevail that it was a video that caused these Americans that came back in a casket and losing their lives in Benghazi, and then sending out Susan Rice to all these Sunday programs to spew this lie. And Donald Trump was getting nailed for offending the Gold Star family, the Muslim husband and wife that were up at the National Convention for the Democrats. But what did they do? They did that publicly at the airport hangar to those families that were waiting for their loved ones to come off that plane. And I'm a veteran, and telling them that they're going to get the people who were responsible for that video. Talking about dishonoring the Gold Star families, they did it worse than Trump did. Thanks, Howie.
Thanks for calling in, Dan. How about imprisoning for 13 months, I believe, the Coptic Christian Egyptian American immigrant who made that stupid video?
Nakula.
Yeah. I mean, talk about Obama's so big on civil rights. What about that guy's civil rights? I mean, again, he's like Muammar Gaddafi in the sense that he's not a saint guy, to use the term of the day. The Miss Venezuela used last night on CNN. He's not a saint. I mean, he had some legal problems, but he shouldn't have been sent to prison for making that video. That was his First Amendment right. They needed a scapegoat. We've been operating the last 8 years like a banana republic.
Howie 617 texts in that one of his regrets is not shutting down talk radio, but he tried with the newsroom survey and some of the fairness, like the what was it, the fairness doctrine?
Right. They've talked about shutting down talk radio. That's for sure. Russ, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Russ. That's another one of their dreams. Go ahead.
First of all, Howie, in Obama's mind, he had a few regrets, but too few to mention. Just like Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And let's start with.
Well, he won't even. But as I said, Russ, Frank Sinatra said regrets. I've had a few. He won't even admit to any regrets.
Of course not. First of all, cash for clunkers. It increased the cost to use parts and cars for poor people. That's how we screwed the poor people. He has weakened us military and emboldened our enemy. He has helped Muslim Brotherhood. He cleared the way for ISIS to take over. Really, it's unbelievable how he also, through Obamacare, has more control over our people. And if anyone thinks that this isn't going to happen, he has set us up for a real estate crash and for the stock market to crash because of unrealistically low interest rates that is nothing but a shell game.
Russ, what did Trump say the other night on Long Island? He said we're in an ugly bubble. I think that was a really good way to describe it. Very accurate. Thanks for the call, Russ. 1-844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
He didn't come here to be made sport of. Howie Carr.